Okay, so how are you doing all? I will be starting. I will be giving you a tutorial on introduction to result-based management and uh, basic data handling. So we'll right away jump into it. I think 20 people is more than enough. So I'll just share my slide. Okay, so okay, this is the wrong slide. Okay, so result-based management. We'll be looking on result-based management, and result-based management, it is a strategy which is as it's mentioned in the challenge document and also as explained earlier on the challenge intro. It was mentioned that it is used in businesses and public administrations to improve performance and achieve results. So basically, it focused on results. So the essence is focusing on achieving outcomes rather than just working on performing activities and also just performing some tasks. Some tasks, for example, you want like you will choose to actually see and based on the result or based on the results rather than just doing some activities and also assigning for some activities. We'll just look for results. And the main goal is to ensure organizations and their uh, stakeholders focus on clearly defined goals. So we will consider those as achieving those goals would be the result, and progressing towards these goals has to be efficient and effective. So as a project manager, you will have to ensure of that, and also you have to find a way to make all the performances and activities of your colleagues are efficient and effective, or they are going in the right direction in order to achieve a certain goal. So yeah, and the key components are um, goal setting. So the first one, goal setting, is just setting a goal, a clearer goal and a measurable objective, and also should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So which is the smart technique as explained in most of differences. So the second one is planning, and planning is just developing a plan that outline required activities. So you will just try to plan the activities in order for them to be effective and efficient. And also, you will include resources and timelines and responsibilities. So you assign tasks. So that means maybe you might create a ticket in Jira or something, but you will just at the end you are allocating some timeline and some responsibilities to others. So the next one is monitoring, and so you are actually checking if uh, the milestones are actually uh, reached, or you assess the results, and also you implement processes to track progress, and also you'll check and monitor everything against the goals and the objective. So the next one is evaluation, and in evaluation you are just conducting evaluation just to determine if the goals are met or not, or what is the blocker and what are the challenges. So that's what evaluation actually refers to. And in evaluations, you gather insights and learn from practice. So you iterate. And also, let's say you have given a task for somebody, and they have faced some problem, or they are not that capable of doing the tasks, or they better do some other thing, or they excel at other things, but not that particular task. So you learn from that practice, and you learn from that particular scenario, and you assign this task to somebody who has more ability to do it, or who wants to do it, or might be who is better at it. So yeah, and the next is reporting and learning. So now you report back. So you monitor, you evaluate, you set goals, and now you report and learn. So report results to stakeholders, and also use data and feedback, which is now the main goal of this challenge is to use data and feedback to make informed decisions and to improve future planning and implementation. So you have it, you have the data, you have the information, so you create a feedback from the data, and which will enable you to actually make informed decisions and also improve your future planning. So you will know how to plan and when to plan it. And yeah, so basically these are the most crucial part of results-based management, and most of the the key steps are identifying key stakeholders, define outcomes and outputs, develop performance indicators. So while you are identifying stakeholders, you determine what is like who is your end goal. Okay, so Sten?
Your sound is not clear enough. I hear some static.
Okay, how about now?
Repeat.
Okay, maybe it might be from your side. Maybe check your earphone or something. I think I have my microphone at max.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So the next, while you are identifying the key stakeholders, you actually are trying to find out who will be affected by that project and who can influence and also who can actually engage. So, for example, by influence, we mean who actually can do something about some problem. So, for example, you are trying to solve a particular problem in some project, and so if there is no one to actually support you in that project, or also if there is no one who can back it up with some finance, you can't actually do it. So mostly stakeholders are related to uh, persons or someone who can be affected by the project and who can create an influence. And so the next step is to define outcomes and outputs. And in this step, you clearly have to articulate what success looks like and what is your end goal and what kind of outcomes are you expecting and what are the outputs. And the next part is to develop performance indicators. So let's say somebody is doing a 4 hours work. That doesn't mean like they're doing something performant. So you actually have to create some indicators. They might have to complete a certain task in some way. So you have to find a way to actually represent their performance. So you create specific indicators that can be used to measure progress towards each output and outcome. So let's say you defined a clear outcome in your step 2. So now while you are creating or developing your performance indicator, you actually are thinking towards your each output and outcome. So the next step is establishing a monitoring and evaluation system. So in this step, you have to actually collect the data and also ensure there are mechanisms to analyze and use the data effectively. So you have to know what to monitor and also you have to know how to evaluate. And the next is to allocate resources strategically. So you have to ensure resources are allocated, but not just based on some activities. And also you have to allocate resources based on their potential impact. So, for example, if you have to allocate a certain, let's just say you have to give somebody a time. So, assume you are doing, somebody will take him or her 20 hours to complete certain tasks. So, you have to actually, if the potential impact of that particular task is higher, you have to actually allocate that kind of resource. So you have to do it strategically. Let's say you only have 10 hours, so you have to allocate it strategically. You might distribute the tasks throughout the team. And the next is to implement, monitor, and adjust. So you have to, like, you will reiterate in this step, you will reiterate in you might reiterate to number 5, you might reiterate to number 2, you might reiterate to number 1. So this step is just you to monitor and adjust. And yeah, so after that, like you just it's a repetition. It's a process of repetition. So you have to come back. You might have to come back to number 4 and establish another system, or your current system might not be working, or you might have to iterate to number 5, and so your previous allocation wasn't strategic enough, so you have to redo it. So you the sixth step is the most important step. So this is a brief introduction to results-based management, and if any of you have any questions, we'll just raise your hand and speak, and after that we will move on to the basic data handling. Okay, if any of you don't have any questions, so you can just move on to the next portion of the tutorial, which is basic data handling. So I'll just share that slide. Okay, I hope you can see my screen. So okay, for your this question, you can find the slide in the shared folder. So yeah, so in basic data handling, so data handling involves collecting, analyzing, interpreting, and presenting data in various formats. That's the basic definition of basic data handling. So our objective here is just to make informed decisions, as I've mentioned before. So now, in order to make an informed decision, we have to extract meaningful information from raw data, like as shared in the challenge document. We have raw data, so you have to actually create or extract some information, meaningful information out of the data. Okay, so and so the next step is components of data handling. So basically, these are steps how to achieve the objectives of data handling. So the first one is data collection, and the second one would be how to organize the data and how to clean the data. So in data collection, we have to first gather our data from various sources. First, before that, we identify sources, and it might be surveys, database, or sensors. In our case, most of the data is come from the sensors. So as it's explained in the challenge document, we have plenty of sensors. So the data is collected from those sensors, and now we ensure the data collected is relevant and sufficient to address our question. So we collected the data and we ensured is the data enough to answer our question. So the next step is to organize the data. So now we sort and categorize the data. So in order, this will make it easier to manage, and also it will make it accessible throughout our team. And the next will be we might organize it by using spreadsheet, database, and data management softwares to just in order those tools will help us to organize the data. And after that, so now we collected our data and we organize it in a way that is feasible to our team. So the next step is data cleaning. So now in data cleaning, we remove or correct the data formats that have errors or the data points that have errors. So we fill missing values by using some standardized data formats, and we might omit the missing values. And this step is the most crucial one, because misrepresenting the data or using the missing data would be would lead us to actually get wrong information out of the data. So the data is trying to tell us something, but we are understanding another, which is not a right approach. So the next step is data analysis. So now we collected the data, we organized, and we cleaned it. So the next step is to analyze it. So we apply some statistical or computational methods to interpret the data. So for example, let's say we have 100 records of age from a survey. So now we will interpret this data by actually using some statistical methods. So which means by statistical, we might apply some mean, which means average. So we might try to understand what is average age. We might understand what is the maximum age. We might try to understand what is the minimum. And these techniques may include the summarization, as I've mentioned, mean, median, and mode, and visualization, the charts, graphs, and inferential analysis, hypothesis testing, regression. Just don't focus on the too much statistics technicals, but just try to have an understanding of the data. So now the analysis will actually help us to understand the data more, and after that we interpret the result. So now we draw a conclusion. So after that, let's say we found out the maximum age out of the 100 record is 81. So now we decide or we conclude that the maximum age is 81. Given that the maximum age is 81, we might interpret it in a different way. So for example, this person, the 81% might be doing something different from the other results. So we draw conclusion based on our insights. And after that, we consider those findings in some broader context. So for example, as I've said, we just don't depend on the data, but after that we interpret it in a much different way. And the next step is the data storage and management. So now after remove, so in the data storage and management, the step is actually from the data cleaning, but we just now store the interpretation, the clean data in somewhere in our organization. We will store it. So the storage and management is making it available it might be for a public access, or it might be for our team access, but after that, after cleaning it and analyzing it and interpreting the result, we will share it. So that's data storage and management. And the next will be planning, how to plan or how to do basic data handling. So now we plan how to collect the data, and we will plan how to organize the data, and we will plan how to clean our data. So define in collection what data is needed has to be defined, and in organizing the format of the data matters here. And while cleaning, what are the routines, or what should we clean and what should we validate, what to look for while validation, what to look for while cleaning. So which means that, let's say, for an age, somebody actually has an input of -22. So that age doesn't exist, right? So we have to consider it while validating it. And we might have some other wrong inputs in a different survey. So we will have to consider and list out how to validate and what to look in validation, and also do the same in cleaning. And the next is to analyze with appropriate tools. For example, if we don't have a geographical data, we don't need to analyze the data geographically, right? So let's say we don't have coordinates, and that will lead us to a wrong information. So we have to choose our tools appropriately. So for example, for a data that contains only just numbers, we don't actually try to treat it as a word or as somebody's word, right? So we have to choose an appropriate tool. And while interpreting our results, our analysis result, we have to actually cross-verify findings and also consider potential biases. So for example, let's say we are interpreting some result. That result might have some some bias to some extent. We have to consider that too. And also maintain data security is just for our data storage and data management. So we have to make sure the data is encrypted and the access controls are created effectively and correctly, and we have a backup solution. So if our server is down, we have another backup and we can spin another server. And yeah, basically, to implement any data handling, we have to follow these steps. So the first step is to plan our data collection, to organize data logically, to clean our data, and to analyze with appropriate tools to interpret results cautiously and maintain data security. So that's it for. I know this was a short tutorial, but I just wanted to keep it short because you had two two sessions in the morning. So I just want to keep this because since it's the first day, there is no reason to actually make it a lot. So if you have any question, you can raise your hand and speak. Okay, Kolaju. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name.
No, no problem. This is an international forum that is allowed. Thank
Okay.
you for, for the presentation. I really followed and I enjoyed it. And I know that when it has to do with data, we need to be diligent. We need to pay attention to details, and we need to be able to see beyond what is displayed by analyzing and all that. My question is if there will be practical sessions for a particular topic like this, which requires, especially for data cleaning, data analysis, all those, if you are going to have practical sessions where it will be hands-on, whereas we are talking, as we are giving, we'll be able to practice this thing um, hands-on practically. That's what I want to ask.
Okay. You will have there will be a session tomorrow, practical sessions. So you will have a hands-on trials there, and also you'll try to implement what you what you'll be taught by your own. That's how you actually get the best out of these tutorials. If you are not doing anything, you're just sitting there and watching the tutorials, that won't help. Just try it on your own and try to repeat what has been taught with the tutorials. Okay, does that answer your question, college?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Any other one? Okay. Go on, face out.
All right, thank you. I just want to ask a question. I don't know. Are they going to be recorded sessions for those of us that couldn't make it so that we could catch up?
Come again? Like I didn't quite catch what
All
you're
right, so
saying.
I'm saying, will there be these sessions recorded so that some of us that were here will catch up?
Yeah, it will be. It is recorded right now, and it will be uploaded on YouTube.
YouTube?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, okay.
yeah. On 10 Academy's YouTube channel, so you can go there and make sure to turn on your notifications, so you will be notified when a video is uploaded, so you can watch it there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Shalom. Go.
Okay, thank you so much for the tutorial. My question is it's just centered around, like, for someone that doesn't have any background knowledge at all, how would you advise the person to go about, you've shared the tutorial now, and I think it might be a bit difficult for someone that doesn't have any background knowledge. So how do you advise the person to go about it, and to go about being able to understand everything that is being taught and being able to implement it based on the challenge that we've been given?
Okay, try to follow up on every tutorials and also try to read more references. And if you have any question, don't hesitate to ask on Slack. So, for example, for this week, the channel is all week one. So drop your question on all week one, and somebody from 10 Academy team or somebody from the community will reach out and answer your question. So that's how you learn. As Arun mentioned, this is a community-based training. So everybody tries to help somebody. So yeah, just
Okay,
if you have any
thank you.
question, write it on Slack and read some references.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other question? Okay, so I don't think there is any other one that have a question. So 10 Academy team, you can stop the recording, and yeah, thank you guys.